All right, welcome back, guys. This is the, I suppose, better late than never edition of the Pocket Change Market Report for October 22nd, 2023. I wanted to take a moment, first of all, to wish my brother a happy birthday. Today's his birthday, so if you're out there, bro, hope you're having a great day. So the Pocket Change Market Report takes a look at some of the pieces that folks like you and I find out there in the wild, whether that's going through change, coin roll hunting, which is a very big activity these days for looking for things like silver, errors, varieties, key dates, you name it. But also, coin shops and shows are another great outlet to cherry pick some of the coins that you're going to see here today. And the idea is that you're going to find these pieces at a very low cost to yourself that you could possibly add to your collection, make it a cornerstone of sorts, or to resell, which a lot of people are doing right now with great results. So if you could correctly attribute those varieties, if you could correctly diagnose the errors that we're going to talk about here today, then you're going to be in really good shape when you go to resell these. And then ultimately, this is kind of like that way of making extra money, folks, that we're all trying to do this time every year as we kind of enter into the holiday season. People need more money, right? And this is one way to do it without actually going and physically getting a second job. That can be kind of stressful. So thank you for tuning in. This is one of my favorite reports, videos, bar none, that I do every single week. It gives a true temperature check on how the market is doing on a lot of these coins. Now, customarily, I talk about these coins, right? I talk a good game, right? As some people would say. Not all of these are sellable at coin shops, all right? Coin shops are not going to be the place to sell these at. A lot of these are sold online. So if you've reached a 2.5 minute point, you would understand that you do not sell these at a coin shop. These are all sold online where there's a greater audience to really appreciate the errors and varieties, which is a very niche part of numismatics. One in which that can bear a lot of extra fruit, if you know what I mean. A couple other ground rules to consider is we don't talk about graded coins. I'm not at all promoting the fact that you should grade any of these coins. That's up to you. But do not grade them. They will sell for themselves. Every error and variety that's correctly attributed and described will have no problem selling on the secondary market. And another thing to also keep in mind as we look at the coins on today's list is that these are all original photos for each one of these listings. We didn't do anything special. I'm going to tell you what I like or don't like about the photos. You're truly going to get the best and worst images that eBay has to offer. If anything, you're going to get a little bit of a photography lesson. And number two, this will help illustrate exactly where that bar is set. And boy, is it set low. You're not going to have to do a whole heck of a lot to make an impact to the people that will be buying these coins. All right, so we have quite the list and very little time to talk about. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Thank you guys again for all your views and support and for hanging out with me on the PCMR for October 22nd. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. We have a few really nice off-center errors. And these are, again, coins probably that you're not going to find in change. Realistically, these can be cherry-picked at shows and shops. I've done it quite a few times for actually a really good deal. And when you can recognize the folks, the dealers that are selling these for a lot lower than what the market commands, that tells us one thing, is that they don't personally care about these type of coins. They would rather buy coins that they know they could flip pretty quickly. So we have a 1939 Lincoln wheat cent. It's slightly off center. I would say about 10% is what we have here. The coin itself is in phenomenal shape. If not for a high-end, about uncirculated condition, it might even be a low-end mint state, like a 61 grade. Very nice coin. Again, this looks like something that's old enough that it should be sent to a grading company, but it really doesn't, you know? This one ended up selling for $75.49 with 2 bids. Again, it's going to sell for that amount of money, whether it's in a plastic encasement by PCGS or NGC or not. So please do take that into consideration and save the money, keep it in your pocket, and just reap the rewards of what these coins would sell for naturally. The next one that we have here is a really beautiful example of a 1999 P Jefferson nickel, a very nice centered broad strike. When they're this centered, they're very attractive, and this coin looks as fresh and struck as it was yesterday. This particular coin right here is a really nice high grade mid state example. Again, you don't have to grade this. This is like one of the more common dates for this thing. It ended up selling for $20.49. So keep that in mind. I find these a lot in bulk, not only online, but also at local shows as well, you know, where they're selling like 5 to 10 of them at the cost of about $5 a piece, because it's a more common date that was commonly pulled out of mint sewn bags during that time. Now, this particular one right here, we know it's a Jefferson nickel. It's got just enough design that we could pick that out. However, it doesn't have a readable date. And I know to a lot of collectors that really enjoy these type of errors, they want to see a full date. That's important to them because they do collect these by date. You know, there are folks I know that collect, you know, more of the modern dates, you know, from, you know, maybe 1965 all the way up to the current date or whatever the latest date will be for off-center strikes like this. The further there we get away from like 2003 when the Federal Reserve Bank stopped using canvas bags to transport these coins, the less likely that we'll be able to find off-center struck ultra moderns, you know. So this one right here is still a nice coin. It looks more to be a saddle strike. It does have the kind of like this, what looks to be damage, but it was probably a, again, this planchet was probably saddled in between 2 striking chambers, which, you know, customarily, you know, you would have probably a secondary strike there of the coin. This one doesn't show it. It just shows a little bit of a rim bump. So this one sold for $31.99. The coin's in decent shape. It does have a few condition issues, you know, that, you know, it could be trivial to a collector, but, you know, these typically, you know, they hit that $15, $20 level without a date, and they're just fine there. Probably one of the coolest coins for the week has to be this 1938 D over S Buffalo nickel. This is an over mint mark, a very well-known one at that. This one was photographed in an old 2x2 holder, even had rusty staples and everything. It's probably a 50 or 60-year-old encasement here. Usually I would say pull it out of the 2x2 holder, take good natural photos of the coin that way, so that way you don't get these weird glare based off of the cellophane plastic. But this one right here, this is a good one. Keep in mind there's also really nice repunch mint marks, some D over Ds. When we look up close here, this is a no doubter. You could actually see the inner curl of the S on the inside of that D right there. And you know, if you this is something you need a magnifier to really see up close. If you don't have that, you're gonna have a heck of a time trying to find this one. So this one right here, really nice high-end mid-state condition coin. I would venture a guess that the person that bought this one might actually end up sending it to PCGS or NGC. They might be able to get like a 65 grade, and that'll certainly double or triple whatever the value is here. This person had paid $75 with 22 bids, so there was a lot of activity on this one. This one, you know, obviously appealed to a lot of different collectors. And ultimately, one person came away with this one. So what a fantastic looking coin. Again, be on the lookout for any 38D. Grab your magnifier, look at them up close, and make sure that you're not skipping over one of these over mint marks, which there's a couple of them, or a repunch mint mark. Coming up over here is going to be one that we don't see that often, a 1974 Washington quarter. It's an uncentered broad strike example, and it's a date that we traditionally don't see. So I'm going to say that this one right here was on the radar of a few collectors that are looking to add a tough date to their off-center or broad strike collection. This is the one. And the coin is overall in really nice shape. It's got a few small, very trivial carbon spots on the obverse and reverse of the coin. But anyways, this one sold for $48.85 with 7 bids. So there you go. That's a pretty good testament to the value on a few of these oddball dates that we just don't see that often. And here's a true double struck 1996 Lincoln Memorial cent. So you can see the secondary strike is roughly 90% off center, features a uniface reverse, which tells me that this coin or this planchet was probably overlapped on another planchet. All right, so that's why you have that uniface there. This particular example right here, not too bad a shape. You know, people do love these. They're very collectible, especially if you could read 2 full dates, one on the off-center portion and on the regular host coin. This one ended up selling for $40.85 with 8 bids. Very sharp looking piece here. All right, we have another update on the Extra V 2023 Lincoln Shield cents, and someone had actually messaged me and said, "Why do you keep putting a 2023 Extra V? We get it; these things are valuable. You know, why do you have to keep adding one to every single pocket change market report?" And the big reason why is that when you begin to not see this coin on the list, that means it's not really relevant at all. And seeing as how we're still kind of looking at a very volatile market for these coins, one day one could sell for $100, the next day, you know, one could sell for $30, $35. So it's still very, you know, very scattered as far as where the actual price point on these are. There's really no good average to think about when you're considering the sales of these. You know, and I wouldn't even want to guess at what an average price would go for on some of these. Again, I think grading has a lot to do with it, because what folks are doing is they're buying the best looking examples. They're paying all the money in the world for it. That's kind of like where the $180 to $100 kind of price range falls into, because they're going to send it off to NGC and PCGS because they recognize the Extra V as a variety on their label. All right, so they'll take those coins, they'll flip them, they'll 4 to 5, 6x, you know, their profit, and then they'll continue on. You know, it's a chain, it's a cycle. They're going to keep buying them. So this one right here looks to be in pretty good shape. Honestly, I think it's a grade no higher than a 65. I don't know what the marking is in front of Lincoln's face in the fields there. I don't know if it's a scratch or plating blister or something to that effect. It's not my favorite example. I've seen better ones here lately that are being sold. There's a little bit of an Extra V notch right there next to Victor David Brenner's initials. Again, we're rehashing old information here that's been known for over 6 months now. All right, and people are still making money off these things. This one sold for $50. All right, so that seems to be, you know, kind of like more of the mid-level values of these. I've seen them again go as cheap as $25-$30, but the coins aren't really nothing fantastic, you know, nothing to really talk about. So there's still very much a wide range here. You might get lucky and cherry pick a really nice one for about $50. Then that would be a home run hitter all day of the week, and then you would take that coin, send it off to the grading companies, and then, you know, resell them after they come back. But the windows on these are closing very tightly, because once we hit 2024, people are going to put this coin in their rearview mirror, and then they're going to focus on the next big find for next year. All right, well, this is a really cool auction, okay? Mostly in part, you know what a regular buffalo nickel looks like, and then you know what one looks like when it's been dipped into acid, all right? So this is actually for a 2-coin lot of buffaloes. You have this 36 buffalo here on the left, and then you have this unspecified dated buffalo nickel on the right, which looks smaller and also very weak looking. The 36 buffalo is not the perfect coin. It's got a pretty significant, I guess, some sort of contact mark on the buffalo or the Indian's chin right there. Not a good looking look. When we look at the reverse here, all right, so again, showing more of that softness there on the right. I don't know if the seller believed that this was like something else, if it was struck on a thinner planchet, which it's not. This one is 100% been dipped in acid. It's therefore post-mint damage. But boy, does it look neat. So, pretty crazy looking coin, considering that, you know, the overall coin is considerably smaller. When we also compare them side by side, yeah, pretty significant difference. The acid dipped version is about half as thick as the regular one. Pretty phenomenal. And again, people used to do tricks with these coins back in the 50s and 60s. They would acid dip Lincoln cents to make them as small as a dime and then use them in vending machines and payphones. So maybe there were some of those shenanigans going on here, maybe turning that nickel into possibly a penny, you know, for something to that effect. So the pair right here, believe it or not, did sell for $53.95 with 9 bids. So I would say all in all, a gross overpay, but you know, maybe someone wanted a really good example of what an acid dip buffalo nickel would look like. That's the one right there. All right, we didn't have much in the way of paper money, and that's fine. You know, I was thinking about not doing any paper money in this week's or this weekend's PCMR, but we did come across this one here. 1988A $20 bill. You could see that the back of the note looks to be pretty good. It's not perfectly centered, but it doesn't indicate any miscut. But when you look at the front of the note, it looks miscut, but it's not. What we have here is a misalignment of the second print, which is all of the base black print with Andrew Jackson's portrait. The overprint is actually perfectly centered onto that piece of paper. You know, the serial numbers and the district seals are all in perfect centered alignment with that you know, the shape of the note. So for this one right here, not a huge banger. It did sell for $35.05 with 13 bids. Nothing too crazy. This is what we consider to be very mild misalignment, even though you can see a sliver of the next note on that sheet. 1937D. Wow, we got a 3 legs buffalo. Not the greatest looking one ever. All right, this is probably one of the worst off ones that I've seen because of that large scratch on the reverse, which puts this one in a problematic details grade kind of, you know, category. For those that are looking for a much more affordable version of a coin that everybody must own, right? This is like one of the top varieties ever. The 3-legged buffalo with the over-abraded die issue and the weak back leg. I mean, this one is 100% correct. And overall, I mean, it looks like kind of like a low-end VF details grade. It might even net grade to a fine, you know, because of the scratch. But this is just a coin to buy if you want to add it to your collection, but not having to worry about actually grading it, because you don't want this thing to come back in a details grade, which it will do. It might even decrease the value of the coin. This one ended up selling for $595. You know, would you believe that? I've seen them sell for less than this, but it was a buy it now option. Someone saw it, wanted it, and added it to their cart and then checked out. So, Next one that we have here, I know we don't talk a lot about waffled canceled coins, but I figure we'll throw this one out there. This one, we don't know the date. It's a 2000s Kennedy half dollar, I can tell you that much. So if there's something wrong with the coin as it passes through the quality inspection, they'll pull it out and it'll be sent for destruction. Usually they'll waffle them like this so that way they don't escape the mint. This one actually sits here on eBay because the mint does sell these. You know, they sell the dimes, which we see a lot of. They sell the quarters. They sell the Lincoln cents. They sell them all. You could grab these from the Philadelphia Mint. You know, if you did one of their tours or something to that effect, they actually sell and give away a lot of these. You know, they even give some of these away to kids too. So that's what a canceled U.S. coin looks like. All right. And there's a lot of these out there in the market today to fulfill demand. So if you have one of these and you think you're hot stuff because you do have it, keep it as a novelty, or you could sell it for a few dollars. This one right here ended up selling for $36.95 with 14 bids. And the big reason is we don't see too many waffled Kennedy half dollars out there. So we see a lot more of the quarters and dimes. And those typically sell for around $10 or less. So there you go. We did have a number of CUD die breaks. All right, different dates here. Let's go ahead and take a look at them. We have a 1999 Lincoln Memorial cent. You can see the raised CUD at the base of Lincoln's bust, right at the 6 o'clock position on the front of the coin. To make it real simple, you know, due to wear and tear, the die does wear down and they crack and they break. Pieces fall off all the time. There's a lot of things that go on. The wear and tear issues on mid presses is very noticeable. You know, over many strikes, and that's what we have here. A piece of the die had fallen off, and all of the metal flow goes into that empty cavity in the die during the strike process. All that pressure pushing that metal there. So that's why you have that raised anomaly. This one right here is sold for $19.50 with 8 bids. Again, CUDs are the kings of the error world. They command generally great prices, very strong prices, and a lot of it is dependent on the actual size of the CUD. So this one right here is considered very small, but still does really well in the marketplace for what it is. Here's a 1974 Lincoln Memorial, also with a CUD right there on the base of Lincoln's bust. Although this one looks like it's been cleaned. There's plenty of damage to go around, especially on the rim and behind Lincoln's head there. Not the greatest looking example. And as a result, this one eventually sold for $11.50 with 5 bids. So all of the condition issues weighed on the very anemic price here. 1989 Lincoln Memorial cent. This one is off center by about 40%. Good looking coin, very nice date. Not rare. I've seen 89 sell on the market. It's not as common as, say, 98, 99, or 2000, but if you needed one of these, you know, there probably will be a few available online if you need it. All right. You know, people also buy these as gifts for like birthday. If someone has a birthday, you know, or their birth year is 1989, they'll buy something like this for them. Neat little oddity. $15.50 with 21 bids. Again, this is a zinkin, so there's a lot of exposed zinc, a lot of split plating, which is very natural to both broad strikes and off center, where you get some of that stretching. Here's also a 1983 Lincoln Memorial cent. Another really small CUD. You can see it right there between the 5 and 6 o'clock position. And this one sold for $32.56 with 9 bids. I would guess that this one doesn't pop up on the auction block too much compared to the first one we looked at, the 99. And it's early enough date that it's more interesting. Here's also a 1983 P Jefferson nickel with a pretty nice sizable CUD die break. Right over the word trust in the motto. So you can see that right there. You can also see a good deal of weakness in that same spot on the reverse. This one I had to kind of crop a little bit. It was taken in a 2x2 holder, so that's why you have some glare issues here. Again, this probably represents your low bar, for photography. This one sold for $55.24 as a buy it now list. All right, so this seller didn't have full images of the obverse and reverse. Okay, so I had to make do with what we had from that listing. But we have a 1960 D over D repunch mint mark. This one is not a cherry picker's guide, and I don't think it's an NGC Variety Plus type either. But you can see that the secondary Denver mint mark is punched south and east of the primary on this one. Good looking coin. There's a ton of repunch mint marks on 1960 Denver minted coins. All right, and especially large date. This one sold for $10 with 5 bids. So even the ones that aren't cherry pickers guide varieties will have a fair amount of value. All right, 1,000 times face value type value. And of course, here's the second hottest coin with a 2023 date, and that's the Edith Kanakaole quarter. All right, so this one has the pretty heavy Edith name die clash right in Washington's ear and hairline there. This one is about 50% there, and that's usually where it becomes the most valuable. I've seen lesser die clashes, not as strong, but this one right here is it's been popular all year. And Kelly's Treasures, one of the friends of the channel, has found a honey hole of these and has made really good money selling them. Like this one here, again, sold for $99.99. Some of that is obviously going to a charitable cause per the auction listing, so good deal there. But still, there's no denying that this is quite the crazy mint error, and one that I think will have a little bit more staying power as time goes on. I wouldn't exactly wait 6 months or a year to try and find one of these. You're best to do it now if you can, because they are still out there and in high grades. All right, from the same seller as that we had the other coin, the 60D repunch mint mark, we also have this one. It's neither a variety or an error. All right, 1962D Lincoln Memorial cent with really strong machine doubling, as evidenced there on the date. So machine doubling is a type of die damage. All right. Where there's a little bit of play in the obverse die as it makes the strike and completes it. There's a little bit of a little shimmy to that die, thereby cutting into the devices, giving it a very flat shelf-like appearance to most of the devices. Not all of it, but most of it. So oftentimes with machine doubling, you'll not only see it on the date, but you'll probably see it on Lincoln's profile, his jacket. You might see it on Liberty, the motto, things like that. So we know that there's a market for machine doubling. There's a lot of appeal here with collector bases. This one sold for $27.51 with 16 bids. Something to keep in mind. I'm not going to say I don't condone this type of sale of this coin, because obviously there's a track record. People are selling these. They're making great money. You might as well take advantage of that. I probably would do the same if and only if I correctly listed it as being strong machine doubling, which is going to be paramount in being just really honest and forward, and people will still pay you the money, like this person did. Oh, well, there were a few of these. Crazy as it may seem, these things are still really, really drawing a huge crowd. This is the American Samoa Blind Bat Quarter, all right? These are 2020 Philadelphia's. So there is a pretty massive strike through right on the Mama Bat's face, as you can see. So that thing is obliterated. Really crazy looking coin. This one right here ended up selling for $99.99, which is the lowest amount that I've seen these sell for, but based off of the condition of this coin, it looks like it's circulated a good deal. All right. There's a lot of dirt and grime and, just, it's not the perfect looking example, but if you need one on the cheap, this is the one here for you, because I know these things go up to like $300-400. Here's another three-legged buffalo, another wild, crazy coin here, 37D. This one was actually bid up in a regular traditional auction format. All right, so it wasn't a buy it now like the previous one. This one right here ended up selling for $529.45 with 52 total bids. So there was a whole army of people just putting in bids to be able to own this one. And then 529 ended up being the tapping point for this. And here's one that we haven't covered in quite some time. It's a 2000p Sacagawea dollar. This is the Wounded Eagle Reverse. It's a very well-known Cherry Picker's Guide variety as well. It's the FS901. When we look up close there on the Reverse Eagle, you can see a pair of die gouges that go right through the breast area and the kind of toward like the leg area of the eagle there. So you can see the main one that shows up right here. All right, so that's raised on the coin, all right, and an actual die gouge on the die, and a little bit smaller one right next to it. You know, when these wear out a lot more, that smaller one tends to disappear. So this one right here is $62.85 with 10 bids, which the coin is in great shape, and this is a little bit on the low end for what I've seen these sell for. I usually see them for about $80 to $100, so you know, maybe there was just a few people asleep on this one. And usually we talk about the Tuskegee Airmen quarters for one reason and one reason only, and that's for the crazy strike-throughs that you see on the building on the reverse. They call it the burning building or whatever. This one is on the list for a different reason, and it's a Denver. So this is a little bit something for you folks there on the West Coast to look for. Yeah, a little bit of a die chip right there. All right, looks like a boulder had fallen on the roof. And this is one that I haven't paid attention to, so this is good to know. You know, that might be as big as they get. Not really sure, you know. But in any event, this one right here ended up selling for $20.24. Can you imagine finding a number of these? And it would just be an instant $20 bill for every one that you do find. That's exciting. So I'm glad to see something like this popping up out there. Kind of a new discovery in my estimation. I think a few of these have shown up on auction before. And here's another blind bat. Not as involving as the previous one. This is a little bit smaller, but you can see it affects like the eyeball and part of the head of the bat on the reverse. Again, these are all Philadelphia struck coins. This one looks to be in a lot better shape. Like, I would be more proud to own this one than the previous coin. And this one right here sold for $29.99 with 11 bids. About a third of what the big one went for this weekend. So, pretty cool to see. There was also like 2 or 3 of these that did sell for around the same price, $30. So they are out there, and people are still finding them in coin rolls. And yeah, no full obverse or reverse images, but that's okay. This is Brian Rybar's sale. He goes by Jim Macker on eBay. He's a big variety enthusiast and a attributor, especially for nickels. So what if I told you guys that there are dozens of doubled die reverses to find on 2023 nickels? You think I would be crazy, right? Well, here's one of them. This is actually WDDR number 63. All right, so there's at least 63 doubled die reverses for the newer 2023 Jefferson nickels. They're not particularly spectacular, but if you find one, you know, good on you, because there's so many of them. The odds are that you'll have some luck finding these. So there's a lot of arrows here. Take a look at the doubling. It's going to be on like little windows on top of the pillar and doors and roof line and things like that. These are some of the things you're going to need to look out for. Again, you can't look at this without the aid of a magnifier. If you don't have a magnifier, you are not going to have any success finding these. This one sold for $14.95. And I think there are a few folks that are possibly putting these together by attribution number. All right, they're probably finding one of every single one that Dr. Wexler had uncovered or put into his files. Not really uncovered because people do submit them to him. But anyways, pretty neat to know that even on much newer coins, there are things like this being found. Here's a little bit off-center, I would say. Probably off-center / broad-struck 1969D. This is a date that we've seen before. Not the greatest looking example. This one had also circulated a little bit. And it sold for $29.85 with 14 bids. And a pretty cool one here, 1929 Lincoln wheat cent with an obvious strike through on the obverse there. So what is that actually? That's probably more likely a detached lamination from another coin that had landed on that either on the coin or the die, and it had folded in on itself like origami. And this is kind of like what your end product is going to be after the strike. Would love to see this coin in mid-state condition. I think that would probably be a really gnarly looking error visually. But anyways, this one right here sold for $16.38, which seems like a little bit on the low side. You know, it could just be that there's some other condition issues on the reverse. Don't know if that's lamination or just some contact marks or pitting. And we have a 1966 Lincoln Memorial cent. This was struck on a split planchet. So the planchet had split in half due to just really poor planchet quality. And yeah, when it strikes up the coin, this thing actually only weighs 1.6 grams, which is almost half of what a traditional copper planchet for Lincoln cent production would go for. So this thing is ultra thin, with the calibrated pressure of the mid presses already set. It's not going to strike the coin up completely, which is why you have a lot of weakness on both sides of the coin. This one right here sold for $36.38. A very impressive piece. There's a little bit of a side-by-side. You can see how much thinner the subject coin is here on this one. And then finally, man, do I have to remind you guys, this is a top 10 variety in Lincoln Memorial cents. And people are finding these left and right in change and in coin rolls especially. It's the 1960 D over D. It's a dual variety repunchment mark. And it's a small over large date. They actually call it a doubled die. It's the FS101. And it's probably the FS501 as well, because it's two varieties in one. But yeah, this coin in any condition is sought after. And they command really strong prices today. These things have been trending up, actually. I sold a... what was it? Mid-State 64 in PCGS plastic of this very coin for like $150. This one right here looks nowhere close to 64, and it's red-brown. And possibly full brown if, depending on what grader gets a hold of it. There's a little bit of a close-up, so you could see the extra Denver mint mark is punched north of the primary, almost touching the 9 there. And then you could see elements of the small and large date overlapping each other on there. You could see it on the 6 and 0 especially, and then the 9 as well. So there's no mistaking this one. This is a huge variety, one that carries itself very well in the community, on the auction world. This one, ladies and gentlemen, sold for $133.90. Just showing you guys, like, again, this coin is trending huge right now. And people kind of like this grade. This used to be a coin in this grade that you could pick up for like $50 a few years ago. And then now we're talking about one that's nearly 3 times that. That's just a testament to how strong of a seller these are. All right, even ungraded. Well, we've come up to the end of the PCMR. All right, this video is for entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. I'm not telling you to go out there and invest in any of this stuff. Again, we're looking at this at the grassroots collectability hobby kind of perspective. Once you understand grading, how errors are made, how the coins are produced at the mint, all the educational stuff, then you could properly resell these on the secondary market. All right. I know there's people that want to rush this process, but you got to get some experience under your belt if you're going to be successful. All right. So please do collect responsibly, grade responsibly as well, if that's your thing. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap things up. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful, great week. Happy Halloween if I don't see you guys until next weekend or whatever. And that's going to go ahead and wrap things up. So you guys take care. Happy hunting. And I'll see you on the next coin video.